The Middle East is on edge, and Iran sees an opening with global attention split and Washington recalibrating its red lines. Tehran is testing how far diplomacy can go before confrontation takes its place in a significant diplomatic overture. Iran has proposed a three-stage plan to the United States during back-channel talks in Oman, according to three diplomatic sources in Tehran who spoke to Iran International. The plan aims to cap uranium enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. Iran's Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi, presented the plan to U.S. Envoy Steve Witkom, and it outlines key steps to de-escalate tensions surrounding Iran's nuclear program. In the first stage, Iran would reduce uranium enrichment to 3.67% in return for access to frozen assets and oil export permissions. The second phase involves a permanent halt to high-level enrichment and a return to full UN nuclear inspections. If the U.S. lifts more sanctions and prevents European allies from triggering snapback sanctions in this phase, Iran would also commit to implementing the additional protocol, a supplementary agreement that allows the UN nuclear watchdog to carry out surprise inspections at sites not declared to the agency. The final phase demands congressional approval of a new nuclear deal and the full lifting of primary and secondary U.S. sanctions. In exchange, Iran would transfer its highly enriched uranium to a third country, though Iran maintains it's not pursuing nuclear weapons. Tensions remain high. A second round of talks in Rome is expected to be more contentious, especially after the U.S. hardened its stance, demanding a full dismantling of Iran's nuclear capabilities in a surprising turn during nuclear talks in Muscat. U.S. Envoy Steve Witkom welcomed Iran's proposed three-stage plan. Catching the Iranian delegation off guard. Iranian leadership appeared buoyed by the progress with Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, stating that the initial steps have been implemented well. We're neither extremely optimistic nor extremely pessimistic about these talks. We are very pessimistic about the other side, but we are optimistic about our own capabilities. Ultimately, it is a task and a move that has been decided upon, and the initial steps have been implemented well. However, skepticism remains. A diplomatic source outside Tehran told Iran International that the Islamic Republic may be using the negotiations to stall a foreign military strike. According to the source, Khamenei agreed to resume talks primarily to buy time, as Iran currently lacks the capability to defend against another airstrike. The country's air defenses and missile infrastructure were reportedly crippled by Israeli attacks in late October. One of the reasons Iran's supreme leader agreed to allow the resumption of negotiations is the need to buy more time, because he knows Iran currently lacks the ability to defend itself against another airstrike. Iran is mainly stalling to buy time to rebuild its air defense capabilities, which were all destroyed by Israel in late October, and to restore its capacity to produce surface-to-surface missiles which were damaged in that same Israeli attack. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office claimed his actions have successfully prevented Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, citing past operations and intelligence efforts. This followed a New York Times report suggesting President Trump had halted Israeli plans to strike Iran. Adding to the concern, International Atomic Energy Agency Chief Rafael Grossi warned Iran is not far from nuclear weapons capability. A March report from the agency indicated Iran's enriched uranium reserves could be sufficient to produce up to 6 nuclear bombs if unchecked. Just before high-stakes nuclear talks in Rome, U.S. President Donald Trump dropped a headline-making twist. He's not in a hurry to strike Iran. When pressed about a New York Times bombshell revealing he blocked an Israeli plan to hit Iranian nuclear sites, Trump coolly responded, "I wouldn't say waved off. I think Iran has a chance to have a great country that you waved off an Israeli plan to attack Iranian nuclear facilities that I wouldn't say waved off. I'm not in a rush to do it because I think that Iran has a chance to have a great country and to live happily without death."
I wouldn't say waved off. I'm not in a rush to do it because I think that Iran has a chance to have a great country and to live happily without death. And I'd like to see that. That's my first option. If there's a second option, I think it would be very bad for Iran. And I think Iran is wanting to talk. I hope they're wanting to talk. It's going to be very good for them if they do. And I'd like to see Iran thrive in the future, do fantastically well. I know the Iranian people, they're incredible people. Always have been very smart, very energetic, very successful people. And I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt anybody. I really don't. But Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's, pretty simple. It's really simple. We're not looking to take their industry. We're not looking to take their land. All we're saying is you can't have a nuclear weapon. The deal that was made with Obama, that deal would have expired already. It was a terrible deal. It would have expired. And that gave them a clear path to a nuclear weapon. I wouldn't have accepted. That's why I terminated the deal. Number one, it was way too short. But no, I'd like to see Iran thrive. And they can do that, I think, very easily, or they can do it the other way, and the other way is not going to be good for them.
The New York Times report said Israel had prepped a bold attack set for May, aiming to cripple Iran's nuclear ambitions by a year or more. But the operation needed U.S. muscle both to back the strike and brace for Iranian retaliation. Instead, Trump hit pause on the war drums, choosing diplomacy over destruction after months of internal wrangling. He's betting on a deal with Tehran rather than a missile strike in a high-stakes diplomatic maneuver. Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei dispatched Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to Moscow on April 17th, carrying a personal letter for Russian President Vladimir Putin. The move comes amid renewed nuclear negotiations with the United States and growing threats from Washington. Trump has repeatedly warned Tehran of potential bombing campaigns and extended economic pressure, threatening third countries that purchase Iranian oil. Russia, a key ally of Tehran and a heavyweight in the UN Security Council, remains a pivotal player. Moscow helped broker the original 2015 nuclear deal that Trump exited in 2018. Araghchi emphasized the importance of close coordination with Russia and China, especially now, the Kremlin confirmed. Putin met Araghchi, receiving the letter that reportedly addressed both regional and bilateral matters. While Russia has deepened its partnership with Iran buying weapons for the Ukraine war and signing a 20-year strategic pact, ICT stopped short of offering military guarantees. Western powers argue Iran's uranium enrichment is dangerously close to weapons-grade levels. Iran insists its program is peaceful. Russia, meanwhile, warns that any military strike against Iran would be illegal and destabilizing. Though tight-lipped about possibly taking custody of Iran's enriched uranium stockpile, the Kremlin's involvement signals that Moscow could be central to any future nuclear arrangement between Tehran and Washington. With the clock ticking, UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi issued a stark warning that Iran and the U.S. are running out of time to strike a nuclear deal. Speaking in Tehran just days before a second round of high-stakes talks in Rome, Grossi said, "We are at a very crucial stage, and we don't have much time. We are in a very crucial stage of these important negotiations that we know we don't have much time. This is why I am here to facilitate this process. We are working hard, and we want to succeed. The IAEA can play a crucial role in a peaceful settlement of the Iranian nuclear file. In the coming months, keep the agency away from politics." The negotiations mediated by Oman marked the highest-level contact between the longtime foes since Trump tore up the 2015 nuclear deal. But the road ahead is anything but smooth. Grossi, fresh from meetings with Iran's nuclear chief and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, said the IAEA is pushing hard to facilitate progress, even as political undercurrents threaten to derail talks. "What is important is that we play a constructive role, for somewhat one says may sometimes be good or sometimes not be so sufficiently good. The important thing is that there's an honest effort here on our part to keep the integrity of the effort to be at the service of countries that have serious differences and are trying to solve them in a diplomatic way, because this is what we need. Arachi urged the IAEA to steer clear of spoilers, meddling for failure. Meanwhile, Gross's recent remark that Iran is not far from building a bomb casts a long shadow.